Okay, we are working on tutorial 10, case problem 2, Harpe Gaming. Excuse me. And I'm going to do like I always do when I first begin the assignment. All right, I'm going to click on the HTML file and open it in a new tab with this button right here so that I can see a full screen of the page that I'm working on. And also so that I can minimize it on this screen and get more room to look at my code. And then I'm going to get rid of this file tree. I can always open it again later if I need to. This way I can maximize the instructions on one side and the code on the other side. All right, and then I always read the summary so that I can understand what it is I'm working on. I treat this like it's a client of mine, and if I don't know anything about my client, then I probably can't do a very good job helping them out. So let's read the summary. Harpe Gaming. Sean Greer manages the development of the website for Harpe Gaming, a store chain specializing in digital games and entertainment. He's working on a redesign of the website and has asked you to work on the design of product pages. Each product page contains a description of a game and a few sample customer reviews. To work on a page for a digital game called Dance Off, the information about the game and customer reviews is stored in an external JavaScript file. That's this file, product.js. Your job will be to extract the data from the JavaScript file and write it into the HTML code in the web page. So we're going to be working in this empty JavaScript page, and we're going to be extracting all the data from this page and plugging it into this page. Not exactly sure where. Let's see, maybe. Yeah, I don't know where yet. We'll find out. A preview of the homepage is shown above. I think they mean below. The style sheets and graphic files have already been created. Your job is to write the HTML markup. A preview of the completed page is shown. We're actually not going to write the HTML markup. We're going to write the HTML in JavaScript and then port it over to the HTML. So this is what the page will look like. We have the basic information about the game. Let's click on this and magnify it. Right, we're going to have a title of the game, the publisher, an image of the game, some product information, a description of the game down below, and then some reviews on the right-hand side. And the reviews are a little complicated as well. The review has a name for the review, who wrote the review, when they reviewed, what their rating was, and then the review itself. And all that is stored in the product.js file. We're going to have to extract all that and plug it into there. So that is what it will look like. That's what they want it to look like. We have to build that, of course. So let's get started. We need to set up our page with our name and date. It's the 9th of November. And link the JavaScript file. We have no JavaScript files linked at all. We need to link both of them. This product.js is all filled with information. We need to link it, otherwise we can't use the information. And then we need to link this one, and that's the one that we're actually going to be writing from. So let's link. We use the script element. The source is equal to the file name Okay, we have two of them and one. Excuse me, seem to be losing my voice. I will try to overcome that. We have one file, the product.js, the other file, report.js, and both files need to be deferred, so we can use the defer attribute. It's a Boolean attribute, so we just need to write the word. We don't have to set it equal to anything. It will not be tested on this step. However, if we don't do this step, then nothing that we do will be visible. So we have to do this step. Right, if I refresh the page, that shouldn't change anything at all. All we've done was add our JavaScript. Our JavaScript doesn't do anything yet. Right, first, scroll down the document and insert an empty article element and an empty aside directly above the closing section tag. The article element will contain information about the game. The aside element will contain information about the reviews. So if we look at our picture here, this middle section is going to have to be the article, and then this right-hand section is going to be the aside. And so they want us to put it directly below the end of the section right here. So we need an article, and we need an aside. Now, insert an empty article element and an empty aside element. It does not say one should be inside the other. So I'm going to not put one inside the other and put one after the other. Article and aside. Again, I will not be tested on that instruction. However, if I don't do it correctly, nothing else will be visible correctly. So I can assume that I need to do it right. Otherwise, it's going to break my whole page. All right, now move over to the product.js file and take some time to review what's in there. Let's do that, actually. I'm going to look at just the code for a moment. So I have some comments, list of variables and their descriptions, another list of variables and their descriptions. Let's move through these. I think they should be pretty self-explanatory. Item title, that looks like a game title. The manufacturer, the ID, so that's like a SKU, a product ID, the price, the platform, so what gaming system it's available for, the ESRB, that's the game's rating, the condition, whether it's a new game or a used game, the date of release, and then we have the summary. And the summary, as you can see, already has some HTML inside that JavaScript string. So we won't have to add that HTML, it's already there. And then we have a long array of ratings. Okay, so these ratings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 19 ratings. So that's probably going to go with 19 reviews. So here's the title of these, or they're calling them all ratings. Okay, so there's the title of them, the authors of all the ratings, the dates of all the ratings, and the summary of all the ratings. And they're all in an array. So these are what's called parallel arrays. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parallel arrays. They're parallel because each of them operates together with the same index. So if I have index 0 and I get this first rating is a 5-star rating, the title of it is My Favorite Workout Game. It was written by Will HA85 from Galway, New York. It was written on 11/18/2018, and the text of that is, I've owned all of the dance-off releases from the beginning. It's my favorite workout video every morning. I've lost 6 pounds since I started playing. So you can tell because this says about losing weight and this says my favorite workout game. You can tell that uh, they're in parallel with each other. The summary and the title do match each other. Um, let's see if we can find another one. Maybe the last one. Great for international parties. And the last one says just a fantastic game. It's already given me hours and hours of pleasure. Extremely well done. I'm an exchange student here in the US. So the last one says it's an exchange student, and the title said great for international parties. So we know that the first one matched and the last one matched. All these, if you match up all the indexes, right? That was a 5-star rating. That was a 5-star rating. They sounded very positive. Um, Although it says this person's in West Virginia, but it said they were an exchange student, so in the U.S. So all these do match up. If you went through any number of the index and you paired them up, uh, that's what we mean by them being parallel arrays. They are all separate arrays, but if you use the same index for them in parallel, then they line up with each other. Okay, so that's all the information there. Let's go back to our instructions here. And they want us to go to the report.js file. Uh, First, you write information about the game that will be displayed in the web page. Declare a variable named GameReport. Within the GameReport variable, store the following HTML code. So if you look at this code, we need to store this in a string, and every time there is a keyword here, title, manufacturer, game image, ID, price, these lowercase words here, those all match these variables here. Except they should actually say item title instead of title. But they say it right here, where these things use the values from the corresponding variables of the product.js. Um, so these are not arrays. These are all like parallel variables. There's a single variable and for each property of this game. So we're going to put that into our report.js. So we need to make a variable it's called game report. And now we're going to fill it with all this data. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to copy and paste this into my JavaScript file because I don't want to make any typos. And then for each line, I'm going to say game report equals and wrap parentheses around this value and then put my semicolon at the end. And then title is actually item title. So I'm going to paste that in there. We can't leave it just like that though. If I put item title in there, that's just a string of characters. What I really need to do is end the parentheses or the quotation marks and have h1 tag plus, that's the string concatenation, item title, plus the closing h1 tag as a string. So what this is going to do is take the game report, make it equal to this string of characters plus the value of this variable plus this string of characters. And then on the next line, I can use some copy and paste here. That's my friend. Copy and paste. I don't want to set it equal to because that will override the previous line. What I want to do is plus equal to. And um, that will add to the previous line. So what I'm going to do is on every line, I'm going to copy and paste the game report plus equals all the way up to and including this quote, quotation mark on every line. Okay, on every line. Then at the end of every line, I'm going to copy and paste my closing quotation mark and my semicolon. Okay, now I'm going to come in and at the beginning of all my variables, I'm going to copy and paste my closing quotation mark here and bring in this variable. So I have HGID. Not every line. This one doesn't have a variable. ID, price, platform, ESRB, condition, release. Looks like summary is all by itself. Remember, the summary actually had HTML already in it, so I don't even need any HTML on this line. Now, after each variable, I'm going to copy and paste this plus and this double quote, and you'll see what happens on the first one. So I have plus variable plus string, string plus variable plus string every time. And especially right here, this is a source file for an image tag. We need to make absolutely sure that these spaces don't get in there and ruin that. Also, I just noticed that I have two more variables on that line, or one more variable on that line. So I'll have to fix that and do the rest of these. Copy and paste, copy and paste. So I have one more variable right there, and then I can copy and paste right here as well. Need to also, this one that I copied and pasted with the image tag, our book loves to use the wrong quotation marks in here. These are right curly quotation marks. It looks similar, but it's a completely different character. That is not what we want for programming. What I'm going to do is change my outside quote to a single quote, and I'll let you know the reason for that in just a moment, as soon as I get all of them correct. Okay, so all of my string outside quotes are single quotes. Outside quotes, that's a string, that's a string, and that's a string. Those are all single quotes, and what that allows me to do is inside that string, I can put double quotes. Because as we're familiar to in HTML, we generally use double quotes. And so that's why I prefer to use single quotes outside of it. Okay, so I have two variables there, and one variable on every other line, except for this one, of course, and this one. All right, now I need to make sure that they are all the correct variable. The only one I fixed was this item title. The next is item manufacturer, and I'm going to copy and paste every one of them because I know that I make a lot of typos, and if I copy and paste, I can avoid the typos. All right, so I'm just looking, item platform, That goes with platform, just looking for the matching pair. Item ESRB, ESRB, item condition, condition, item release, release, and item summary, summary. So that should be pretty good. I think there's a check mark for that. And we'll let MindTap score us. Depending on how they grade us, we may run into trouble, and we did. Is looking for patterns, so they're looking for game report equals. I have that. And that's all they were looking for on the first time. And then should contain correct HTML code. So something is different in my code versus their code. Probably a very small, like a character or something. Let's see. Let me copy what they're looking for and paste it down below here so I can see it. That's what they're looking for. And well, that's what it found. Oh, I see. The very thing that I did, my quotes and double quotes, I need to switch them around because they are looking specifically for single quotes to be inside of there. So now I need all of my quotes to change. I'm going to change all the single ones and then come back in and change all the doubles to singles. Delicate process. I could easily make a mistake. I definitely have a mistake here somewhere. There we go. You can, if you get your quotation marks out of order, you can see the highlighting change, and that should be your first clue. So double quote on the very outside of every string, single quote for the HTML quotes. So that's the source file. This is the alt for the image. That looks good. That's the ID. All right, that looks much better. There we go. All right, so my preference is to do it the other way around. But of course, they are looking for that specific string of characters, and you have to give it to them or you don't get the points. Moving on to the next step here. Game report. Display the value of the game report variable. We just built it. There's our game report variable. We just built it. Display that value in the inner HTML of the first and the only article element in the document. Hint, use getElementsByTagName method referencing the first item in the array of the article elements. Okay, so that's their hint. So we can use the getElementByTagName. Starts with document dot get elements by tag name, and we have a pop-up friend here to help us out. Right, and the tag name is article, and this actually is going to give us back an array of elements. It's going to give us all the elements of that type, that tag name, from the page. Now there only happens to be one, but the program doesn't know that until after it has checked. And as a result, we are still going to get our array result. So we need to index the array, and we want the very first one, that is the 0 index. And then we want to change the inner HTML. We can safely change the inner HTML because, as we know, we put that element into our page and it doesn't have any inner HTML. So we can safely override that. And we'll set that to game report. Oh, I got to make sure I have my capital R in game report. Right, so if I've done this correctly and I actually refresh my page, I'll see my game report. Here we go. I've done all that. Amazing. All right, let's see if we can get a check mark for the game report step. That was really easy. All right, that was an easy one. One line of code. I want to see how they test it. Ah, this is how they test it. They're just looking for some code. I think they should run the page and look for it on the page. All right, next, here comes the hard part when we have to put the reviews in place. Next, you write the information from the customer ratings. Start by calculating the average customer rating of the game. Declare a variable named ratings sum. Set its initial value to 0. Declare a variable named ratings count equal to the length of the ratings array. Create a for loop to loop through the contents of the ratings array. Each time through the loop, add the value of the current rating value to the value of the rating sum. This is how we create an average. We get a sum and a count, and we divide the sum by the count. After the for loop, after we've summed or totaled all the ratings, declare a new variable, ratings average, set its value equal to rating sum divided by ratings count. Declare another variable named ratings report, set its initial value to this text string, where average is equal to the ratings average variable and count is equal to the ratings count variable. So we're going to make a variable to accumulate all the totals, the sum of all the ratings. This is the accumulator. we're going to create a variable that holds the count, and we're going to get that from the array itself, the length value of that. And then we're going to use a for loop. It's going to be powered by the count, okay, or the length, either or. Each time through the loop, we're going to add to the accumulator the value of the rating. Once we have that total accumulation, we can divide to find the average. Okay, that's fairly basic. The steps we take to get there are going to be a little bit. And then once we have the average, we're going to make one more variable that will hold the what we're going to use to output that. Okay, we're going to begin our output. It doesn't say to actually do the output yet, but we'll get the output started, which is the ratings report. All right, so first things first, we have some variables to create. Var ratings sum. We start with a value of 0 and a typo already. I'm going to move my content up here so we can see it. Ratings sum. Ratings count. That one is going to be equal to the ratings array. It's down here. It's called ratings dot length. So it's an array. Arrays have a property called length that will tell us whatever the length of the array is. Ratings sum, ratings count. We need ratings average. That one's going to be set to 0 to begin with. And what else do we need? Ratings report. That one's going to be set to an empty string to begin with, because it's going to be some string output. Sum, count, average, and report. I think that's all the variables we need. Now we can start getting to work. We need a for loop. And the way we write a for loop is we start with setting an index to, in our case, we're going to start with setting an index to 0. So I equals 0. It's tradition that we use I for the index because we don't need to waste a lot of time writing a long name. It's only an index for our for loop. And I as the index has just become the tradition. So we always, or almost always, use that value. Right. So that is the initial state of our index. And the end state of our index, or the trigger will be when our I value gets to be greater than ratings.length, the length of our array. That's when we're going to stop, and then each time around the array we're going to increment the I value 1. So this will start at an index of 0. Every time through the loop it will increment the index by 1. It will stop when we reach the length of the array, and inside of the array we'll be able to use that I value to access the index of the array, each and every index from 0 up until the last one. And we've said when I is less than the length, so that means that when I reaches the length, the loop will be over and we don't risk running past the end of the loop. So we can say our sum, that's our, plus equals, So we're going to accumulate by just adding to plus equals ratings of sub I. So whatever this index is, the first time will be 0, and every other time will be as it goes through. Okay. As soon as that is finished, at the outside of the loop, ratings average is equal to ratings sum divided by ratings dot length or ratings count. Both are the same variable, or the same value. They're different variables with the same value. So now that will have the average. And we had to do something else in here. We had to take ratings report and make it equal to all this. Plus equals all this. And there we go. If you have a multi-line string in JavaScript, the end of each line you put a backslash, and that tells it to go to the next line. Otherwise it breaks. So ratings report, we initially set it to an empty string. Now we're adding to it this h1, and we also have to worry about this value for average plus, it's not called average, it's called rating average, and then plus again, that's what we use to concatenate strings. Concatenate means to put together. Ooh, my computer's getting warm. And we need to do the same thing for count. Plus, it's not called count, it's called ratings count. All right, that looks good. Ratings report plus equals this long string, and I've replaced each of the text names with the appropriate variable name and broken and concatenated my string appropriately. I'm waiting for that friendly little robot to tell me I did a great job. And he is not happy with me. Let's see, there's a lot of tests. What did I get right here? Rating report. Ah, see, I called it ratings report because all the other ones were ratings. And what does I do over here? This is supposed to be called rating AVG, and I called it rating average. So I did everything right, but I named two variables incorrectly. Let's try and fix that. I get even less this time. Oh, I didn't fix one of my rating report ratings sum. Well, maybe I just need to correct that one thing. You're very picky with me right now. But I understand variables need to be named correctly. There we go. All right, rating report. Everything else is ratings something. All right, so this area is complete. Now we do another loop. We're going to actually put that rating information into our page. We've not put it in our page yet. Next, you're going to display the content of the first 3 customer reviews. I thought we were going to make a random generator and pick one at random. Create a for loop in which the counter goes from 0 to 2 in steps of 1. Oh, I can do that real quickly. For, all right, another variable I equals 0, right? We can declare a brand new variable because the lifetime of the old one was only the loop itself. So we need to declare a brand new one. I is less than 3. It will count from 0 to 2 as long as I is less than 3. And then I plus plus will be the incrementer, counting by 1. Insert the commands described in the following steps. So we have a lot of steps, and we're going to insert those commands. Add the following HTML code to the value of rating report. So we have all this code we can add to our rating report variable. And I'm going to do this very much just like I did when I did game report. So I'm going to take rating report plus equals and all the way up to this double quote and copy and paste it at the beginning of each line. And then copy and paste a closing quote and a semicolon at the end of each line. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Title, author, date. Okay, just the title, author, and date I have to switch out. So the title is going to be rating titles. The author is rating authors. And the date is rating dates. And let me put in the parentheses I need. I mean the double quotes and the plus signs that I need. Backwards. Okay, so I have rating titles, rating authors, rating dates. I just noticed up here, all right, they have the incorrect quotes. They've got those curly quotes. We don't want those. We're going to have to use single quotes because I think MindTap is going to want single quotes inside the double quotes, just like they did in the previous step. All right, so this is actually incorrect. What we've done wrong is rating titles is an array, and we need to access the index of that array that matches the for loop. So we need to access the index of whatever I is equal to. And when this loops through, I will be equal to 0. And we'll run this once with the index of 0. And then the loop will go again. We'll run it again with the index of 1. Then the loop will go one more time. We'll run it again with the loop of 2. with the index of 2, excuse me, and then the loop will begin. The index will get incremented to 3. 3 is not less than 3, so that will end the loop and it won't execute again. So I need to put this increment index of I into each one of those. So that is correct. And that's just part of this long step we're at here. Okay. Each customer rates the game on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. Sean would like to have the stars displayed graphically. A nested for loop where the counter goes from 1 up to the value of the current customer rating of the game in increments of 1. Each time through the nested for loop, add the following HTML code. Okay, so we're going to add an image. If it's a 4-star rating, we're going to add 4 stars. If it's a 3-star rating, we're going to add 3 stars. And we won't know what the rating is until we're in the loop and we've accessed the array of the ratings. So we need a loop inside of a loop because we're going to loop, potentially we're going to loop 5 times for each of the 5 stars. That's what the loop is for. So we're going to make another loop, another for loop. Okay, usually if we're doing an internal loop and we need an incrementer, we've used I and we just continue through the alphabet. So this time we're going to use J. J is, I'm not sure what the name of the variable is. Ratings. Okay, so J is less than ratings of whatever I we're in. We need to get the rating of I. J is actually going to be less than or equal to. So if the rating was a 5-star, oh no, we can do 0 to, that'll be fine. From 0 to 5 or 0 to 4, if the rating is a 5-star, we'll execute 5 times and we're going to add 5 stars to this. So whatever ratings is at the index that we're at the parent of loop, don't forget to increment our J value as well. And we're going to add this image tag. Ratings report plus equals image hg star dot jpeg. Oh, right, I need to use single quotes inside. There. So each time this inside loop executes, we're going to add one more star. So we're going to start with, we'll do 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star, depending on what this number is. That's the ratings array. Okay, so that's this step. We still have one more thing to do here. Now, directly after the loop, but still within the outer loop, insert the commands to add the following HTML code, more code to the HTML rating report, because remember, we've only just gone up to the stars. We've not put the actual review or the actual rating in its place yet. So we have a little bit more. Rating report plus equals. I'm not going to add all these on different lines because I can put the slash, backslash, oops, Oh, but the summary has to be something else. So maybe I do want to put this as multiple lines. Because the summary part, that's our variable from our array, ratings summaries. And remember, we don't want all the rating summaries. We just want the one from the index of wherever we're at in our loop here, our outside for loop. I think that's all of it. I'm not going to be tested on that. What the? That was the longest step we've done. Ah, well, I am going to be tested on the next one, and the next one actually puts all this into the page. So very much like we did earlier, get elements by tag name with the game report. We're going to do the same thing with the rating report, although this time we're going to get the aside element, the first and only aside element, and we're going to put the rating report instead of the game report. If I refresh my page, yay, I got all that. Oh, my stars aren't correct. Let me inspect my stars. HG star dot JPEG. Star HG underscore. Oh, it's not a JPEG, it's a PNG. How did I come up with that? There's our stars. 5-star, 2-star, 1-star. Oh, it's buggy with poor tech support, poor choreography. Well, this person's using it to work out. They're not concerned with choreography. They want exercise. All right, let's get this last check mark. We have finished this page. And I want to see how they're checking us. Oh, I did all this work, and the only thing they're checking is that I wrote the word aside, an equal to, and the word rating report. Honestly. All right, that's the assignment. I got all of my information in there. It's beautiful. All right. From the Dance Off game, circa 2018. I've not played it myself. Apparently, it's very good for exercise and also for international students. All right. Okay, that was T10 Case Problem 2, Harpe Gaming. We used accessed a few arrays, wrote a few loops, and wrote strings of HTML elements into a page. A lot of fun.